Hello and welcome back to our series in this little book by Mark Ashton entitled Christ and His People. This week focusing on chapter 3, Expository Preaching. Let me just read the little subtitle. Consecutive expository preaching by the pastor teacher is the best normal diet of the local church. Good expository preaching should first and foremost be clear. The pastor teacher or the minister should be aiming to really stick to that particular passage or that particular text. And it should also be factual, so it should leave the listener knowing more about that particular place or those particular people. And ultimately, it should be aiming to give direction or application. So when we, the congregation, leave on Sunday and go into Monday and through to the next Sunday, that we should be able to apply that word that has been preached from God's word into our lives, so into our very life and witness to those around us. I think it was really, really interesting that we should get, even just straight away from this particular chapter, the link between preaching and diet. This idea of food, nourishment, eating. And that was something that I think Jesus made really, really clear and put really plainly to Peter as he challenged him just at the very end of John's gospel account. Jesus said to Peter, take care of my sheep, feed my lambs, feed my sheep. He repeats it. And this idea of faithful proclamation that Jesus came to seek and save the lost, that would be faithfully taught and preached to the people of God. And as we know today, we have the full counsel of God. We have the full scriptures from Genesis through to Revelation. And any good preacher, teacher, pastor, minister should not want to avoid difficult books or difficult chapters and tricky verses. Expository preaching is all about the full counsel of God. I think one thing that stood out to me in this particular chapter in this book is just the cost of regular preaching that it has on preachers, pastors, ministers. There's a part of a sentence on page 29 that really stood out to me. The best sermons are those that have cost the preacher most. I suppose my encouragement or my challenge to us all is that we would prayerfully support our ministers and our pastors and our teachers as they enter the pulpit so faithfully week in, week out. And they spend their time during the week carefully studying God's word, that their delivery might be clear and obviously tied in and very, very close to what God would have them say. They spend so much time in understanding the context and thinking carefully about that contemporary application. And for us ourselves, the receivers, the audience, the congregation, and it's already been said that this is about the Monday to Sunday. It's not just about receiving it on the Sunday and then parking it and going into the Monday. This should have an impact on our Monday to Sunday. And this consistent, regular, weekly teaching from God's word should create direction in our own lives and also in the life of the church. So that's something that's of utmost importance. And there may be times throughout the church life that contemporary thinking or innovative and creative ideas are applied to things like evangelism, discipleship and mission. But the one thing that must not change within the church is the consistent and faithful teaching of God's word, Genesis through to Revelation. In our little book, we read these words on page 31. One man addressing a group of people from God's word has been the staple diet of the people of God from the time of the book of Deuteronomy right through to the 21st century. Regular expository preaching remains the staple diet for the healthy church. God used his word to build and direct his church in the past, and he chooses to do the exact same thing today.